Hello, everybody. It's the old bear from the Old Bears Den of Bigfoot. We have some special guests tonight, and well, they ran into some things that they're going to tell you about that they saw out in around Oklahoma, and they've had some things happen to them. They've heard some things, so I hope you enjoy this tonight and. Sit back and listen to their account of what is what they've heard and what they've seen and what they've found because they've done investigations. They did an investigation, and I hope you enjoy it. This is a fun night, and just sit back and relax, and we'll listen to it. And I'm glad to see you all here. And let's get it started. We'll bring them back. Here we go.
Hey, what's up, everybody? How are y'all?
How you doing?
We are good. It's great to be here. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
We really do appreciate it.
It's truly my pleasure to have you on.
Well, it's our pleasure to be here.
I happened on your channel one day
Uh-huh.
and started watching your channel and listening and sitting back and watching the show. What y'all do? Y'all live in a van, right?
We do
Yes.
live in a van. We have. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, living in a van can be tough sometimes. I figure.
Oh, it can, especially when you have two full-size adults. Well, I'm more full-size than Rachel is. Let's be real. And then we have our dog too. But they're like with any other lifestyle. There are things you have to give up or
Mhm.
but it's very free for us,
Yeah.
and we can park the van wherever we want to park it in regular spaces. We can go through drive-throughs. It's as the way we look at it is, as long as somebody's doing what makes them happy and you're not hurting anybody else, then I really don't care. But it can be tough. Don't kid yourself.
Well, it, you got to do what makes you happy.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were in the middle of the rat race, and it actually, whenever the pandemic started, I'm going to say that when the pandemic started, we we were off the whole time getting paid and just sitting at the house and watching a lot of YouTube. And we happened across some of these van life channels, and we're like, you know what,
Mhm.
we can do that, and we don't have to chase the the American dream.
Yeah.
And
Well,
go ahead.
mostly like the whole van life, Instagram, and we're authentic, pretty much. Like,
Yeah, there's a lot of there's
lot of Instagram,
a lot of fakeness out there, and
Yeah.
you've watched us. We don't do that.
Yeah.
Right. That's the reason I have your channel on my channel.
Right.
Um, I like the way you guys do your videos and
Right.
you're honest about everything.
Right.
And if people don't like it, that's just their problem.
There's a lot of other channels to watch that aren't ours.
Yeah.
Right.
We're not going to be fake. We're not going to make things up. We're not going to do any of that. We're going to be, this is how it is. This is what we hear. This is where we're camped or whatever. And if you take it or leave it.
Oh yeah.
But that's our thing is we don't, there are a lot of van lifers who want to camp. They want us to camp in town or camp at Walmarts and all that stuff all the time. That's not camping to me. Camping is out in the woods.
Right.
That's what we
That's
do.
what we do.
We are in the woods 95% of the time.
Most of the time.
Yeah, vast majority of the time we're out in the woods and not at camp near other people. We're straight up miles from other people, and that's what we like.
Well, that's particularly, that's something me and my wife do.
Uh-huh.
We don't mind going to, campgrounds and stuff like that, but if there's somebody sitting right on top of you, it's not the same.
It's not fun. It's not fun. And it's like, our dog Badger, he's a little high strung, And it's great for him if we're out, when we're out and there's nobody else around, he can just run and explore and not be, because if there are other people around, he will be right up them. We'll say it like that.
He's really attracted by other people. So.
Yeah. And, I've said this on the,
he's a dog.
Oh, he's very much a dog. And we're Christians, but I will tell you, I don't mind doing married people stuff with my wife out in the woods. That's just, I'm pretty blunt about stuff sometimes.
Well, I understand that.
And it's just, anyway, but that's kind of what led us to some of the sounds that we've heard, some of the things that we've encountered is since we do camp in the woods away from people in the wilderness, that's kind of allowed us to, I'll say allowed us, that's where we've experienced the things that we've experienced, obviously. And
howls and
howls and roars and there's some other things we've heard, like
things.
One time I heard, twice now, it sounded like I've heard like a little girl talking out in the middle of the woods at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't like that. That's not fun to me. Something that sounds like a little child talking. That is weird. But anyway,
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I heard it plenty for both of us.
So why don't you guys tell the viewers about the first time you heard some screams or howls that you didn't understand what they were, but you just have to kind of guess at them.
Right. Well, we were in South Central Oklahoma, and Oklahoma has a ton of wildlife management areas that you can camp in. That. So we were at this particular one, and I haven't told. I mean, like our family knows where it is and all that, but I haven't said on YouTube where it is yet, just because we want to kind of exhaust our efforts there, if that makes sense. Without, because we've had a lot of people want to know where they are or whatever.
Yeah.
And we just haven't said it yet. But anyway, it's a wildlife management area in central southern Oklahoma, and this is actually pretty sure it was the day. There was a football playoff game going. I'm a Cowboys fan. I'm from Texas. It's it is what it is. Rachel was laying down in the back, and it went to commercial, and I turned the radio down, and back off out to the south of me, like I heard something roaring. I will say, I've already said, we're in the woods all the time. We like the wilderness. We like being away from people. So being out in the woods all the time affords us the opportunity to hear things all the time. So we know what screaming foxes sound like. We obviously know what coyotes sound like. We know sounds in the woods. Let's just say that. We're not newbies to that. So
heard all the animals.
Yeah. I mean, we had a video where geese was real quiet, and geese scared the crap out of Rachel. She almost peed my pants. It was so bad.
Yeah, that is bad.
So anyway, I heard this roaring, and for me, it sounded like it was miles away. But it was so powerful, if that makes sense. Like it wasn't something that was close. It couldn't have been miles, but it was whatever it was a way away, and it was just like and on that video, what I said, and it still holds true for the way I feel about it, is the sound on Jurassic Park that they had the T-Rex make, the roar, screamish sound. That's almost exactly what it sounded like, and I've never heard that in the woods, and that piqued my curiosity. And I walked down. Rachel was still taking a nap, and I at that point, it was more important than the game, because I'm not the kind to just sit in the van and wonder what's going on. For better or worse, it may get the better of me sometime. It's just my personality. Let's go find this. So I walked down, and I heard couple more times. Got back up to the van and heard it one more time, and you can't really hear it on the camera because it was so far off, but it was the exact same. It sounded like something was just, I don't know if it sounded like something was in pain or something was just really
ticked off.
Angry.
What's that?
Angry, ticked off, angry. Yeah,
all those things. And so I was like, okay. So I got back in the van, and I never heard it again later. And then even later on that night, on the video, because I knew people would say, "Oh, it's coyotes." You could hear coyotes, and I in the video said, "Obviously coyotes, and obviously not what I heard earlier."
Right.
But then in that same video, at the end of it, somebody tried getting in our van, which is, I mean, and that was a person. I know that was a person because a car drove off and all that. But what started it, that whole video, was the roars that I still can't describe, or I can't explain what they are. And we've actually encountered more of them in that same wildlife area, and you can actually hear them on the video now.
Now, is that in western Oklahoma or eastern or
Central
Oklahoma?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And we've filmed out there a few times since then. I really don't like taking Rachel back out there. Just, I mean, because I'm in charge of her protection.
Right.
We have a pretty old school marriage, and
yeah.
I'm the protector. And if me and the boys go out there, that's one thing. But taking my wife and putting my wife in that situation, in that possible situation, I don't like it. That being said, we went back a few times because I'm also not a controller. So if she wants to go, I'm like, I mean,
I've wanted to go back.
She's wanted to go back.
Well,
I've also heard things out there that hurt, that they're unnerving. Let's just say that.
Very unnerving.
Well, I understand where you're at when it comes to me and my better half, because that's what she is. She is the better half.
Oh no, I agree.
We go places that these creatures roam through here in West Virginia, and we go camping, and we've heard screams and everything else over in Ohio.
Right.
And my wife has actually heard one kind of bellow here at the house.
Really?
Yeah, we've got them right here. They come in. They're kind of weird the last couple of years. They come in at certain times. They used to be here at certain times of the year, and it kind of was like a every year thing. And the last couple of years, they're kind of, well, we'll show up when we want to, and it's not the same. But she left here on a Saturday morning, and she was on the way to her vehicle to go out and grab us a bite to eat for breakfast. And she had one scream at her from behind the house. She stood out there like a stone statue for a few seconds. And then she come back in, and she was looking at me, and her face was kind of blank. And it was kind of whitish. And she said, "I think I just heard a Bigfoot." It's kind of like, oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Well, you got food? That was her attitude. And she hadn't even left yet. And
that's funny.
so, it happens. I mean, you never know where they're going to be from one minute to the next. And it's hard to pinpoint them because something may change. The structure of the family unit or whatever they're in, it changes from time to time. So, I mean, and then you guys being out there and you've been out there before, right? To camp out there and never heard anything?
I've never heard anything. And then there's been times since then that we haven't heard anything. And then there's been times since then that we have heard something. So it's not every time we go.
Well, it depends on the game in the area. I mean,
yeah,
their food sources. I mean, if there's a lot of food, they may hang around for a while.
Right.
And if there's not, then they'll go somewhere and find something they can live on.
Right.
Because they're not little creatures; they're huge.
No, and in fact, that place out there, this guy works for the Parks and Wildlife Department. He's like the caretaker of the place, and he stopped in one day while we were out there and asked him how we're doing. Real nice guy, Christian guy, and he's he's real level-headed. You said just one of those people. And I said, have you ever heard anything weird out here? He goes, oh yeah, all the time. He said, I also have a bunch of stories from friends of mine that have hunted out here and camped out here. And then he told us some of the stories. So he wasn't shocked by it at all. I mean, he wasn't taken aback by it. He was like, oh no, there's something out here. And the last video from there, it was the first time we'd been out there since I had the drone.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to put the drone up and show
how wooded it is.
How wooded it is and how vast it is. It's not a 15-acre wildlife refuge. It's massive.
Right.
And nothing out there.
But did you have any close encounter or anything up there where you first heard them? Have things disappeared at night?
We've had none of that. All that's ever been up there is roars, howls, and I've went back and listened to on the different videos, and it's not the same creature making the same noise, but it's like I'll put it like this: it'd be like if I were yelling and you were yelling. It's the same noise. It's just obviously two different creatures making it.
Mm-hmm.
But we've never, not that we know of, we've never been. We never had anything come up missing. No. I've never seen one, or we've never seen one there. Back in the mid '80s, when I was a teenager. Long story short, there was 4 of us teenage boys. I grew up in Amarillo, Texas, and there's nothing out there. Anyway, we were supposed to camp on Friday night. I'm not going to tell the whole story, but we wound up going to Trinidad, Colorado. 4 teenage boys. We got kicked out of a KOA campground because we're being, again, 4 teenage boys.
Right.
And we were coming back. We're like, oh, well, let's go back to Amarillo. And I had my friend. I was the smart aleck of the group. Please don't be shocked by that. But I was like, I don't need a map. I know where we are. Well, I had him turn one road before, so we were staying up in the mountains and driving along, and the other 2 guys were in the back seat. They were asleep. And me and my best friend, he was driving, and we were sitting there going down the road. And this was probably 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. And right out at the edge of the reach of the headlights, something went boom, 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 3 steps across the road. Again, there were no houses out there. There were no businesses out there. There was nobody out there that would be trying to hoax us because nobody knew we were going through there. And I can go back through that same area now, like on Google Maps, and there's still no houses out there. And people say, well, what was it? I don't know what it was, but I know what it was, and I know it wasn't a bear because when bears run, they run on 4. Yeah, I have seen them walk on 2, but they take short steps. This was huge strides, and this thing was, I'd say 8 to 10 feet tall, brownish, long or kind of dark brown, real hairy, taking huge steps across the road. What was it? I don't know, but I know what it wasn't.
Right.
Personally, Bigfoot. That's where I lean to.
Well, that that description alone leads me to a Bigfoot. I mean, it's the plain and simple truth of the matter. I mean, that type of a description, the way it went across the road, they're something 8 to 10 feet tall. at late at night going across the road with no flashlight, no headlight, no nothing, and just running straight across the road in 3 strides.
And it,
There
you
ain't
know,
much else in the world can do that.
no,
No.
I mean, and my thing is, it was a 2-lane road, but then there was probably a 5 to 8 foot shoulder on either side. Well, this thing literally, I saw 1 foot come out of the darkness, one foot landed in the middle of the road, next foot landed on the other side in the shoulder and gone. So it was a huge stride too. So it's and on that, on the videos we've talked about, people are like, well, just say what it is, because I never said Bigfoot, because I know most people are going to come, they're going to have their own opinion or whatever. So I let people come to their own conclusion,
right?
Because people are going to anyway.
Yeah, they are.
I don't care what anybody. I mean, yeah, I think it's Bigfoot, but I never said that, not because I was afraid that somebody's going to think about me, because I don't care.
No.
Right. Ain't
it? There's no point in it.
It don't do you any good because
sure don't.
I've done this for so long. I've seen people that I've gotten accounts from people that are like, now don't use my name. Don't even tell them what city I'm in. Don't tell them what county I'm in.
Right.
Just say it happened in West Virginia or North Carolina or South Carolina or wherever. And they're like, I don't want nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
I'll tell you everything, but I don't want nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is that brings us back to, okay, so, you talked about us doing an investigation, and again, this was somebody that just found us on YouTube, and he'll tell you straight up, this guy's name is Mark. I won't tell you his last name, but he'll tell you straight up. He said, I don't care about van life. He said, but I saw your video where you heard something and all that, and then I started watching you all. He said, I liked you. He goes, I like your personalities and all that. But he said, but also, you're not van lifers who camp in the city and all that stuff. He said, y'all actually go out into the woods, and we do. You go watch your videos, you'll see we're generally in the woods. So he invited us. I want his job. I understand why he doesn't want people to know what he thinks, because if I told you the job, and I may tell you privately, you'd be like, oh, okay, I understand now. But he actually bought the place over in eastern Oklahoma. It's 50 acres, but it abuts up to the Ouachita National Forest, which is like 1.3 million acres. And I don't know if you've ever been in that forest, but it's intense. It is very rugged and so heavily wooded and all that.
Yeah.
And he bought that place especially for squatching. In fact, I don't know if any of your viewers have ever heard of Robert Dodson. That was actually the place where he was doing all his research towards the end. He actually lived on that land.
Yeah, I know a little bit about that place because here about a year and a half ago, a couple sent me an account out of the Ouachita forest, and they were camped at a campground just inside of the state line, and it's right near the forest.
Yep.
And they had Bigfoot come in. They were staying there, and it was over the Labor Day weekend. Everybody left Labor Day.
Right.
And then, that was Monday. Well, Tuesday night, they were pretty much there by themselves. There may have been one other camper in the whole campground. And they got visited by about 3 or 4 Bigfoot, shook a trailer and everything.
I don't doubt it there at all. And it's funny you say that about the it had been busy, and then almost everybody left. Well, the first time, the first story that I told, that happened, it was just this was on a Sunday night, and it'd been fairly busy out at this place, and then everybody left, and we were the only ones there, and then this happened. So, but it's, I have another story. Maybe I'll tell it. Maybe I won't. About in 2013 up in New Mexico with my ex-wife and the kids, and it was after Labor Day.
Mm-hmm.
It had been busy, and then Labor Day happened, and then then we were there the week after, and that's whenever we had something happen there. But yeah, the Ouachita Forest it's intense, and we were very blessed to be invited out there by Mark, and then his friend is a man named Udell Head, who actually does Bigfoot seminars and stuff. Really knowledgeable guy, real nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
So we felt very honored and very blessed to be able to spend. Well, we were there for 4 days, and while we were there, we didn't really hear. I mean, we heard maybe a few howls, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was just, but really, really quiet. But the last night we were there, I'm sorry, y'all. Rachel spilled our drink over here. She's trying to clean it up. She'll be back in a second. I know she's way better to look at than me. We last night we were there. It was just Rachel, Mark, and I, and we were sitting around a fire, and we were having like little pebbles thrown at us, pebbles or acorns or both, and we know they were being thrown at us because they were coming out of the trees, like they weren't just falling out of the trees; they were falling, and the trees were 10 feet that way, or 10 feet that way, and they're landing on us and near us, so they weren't falling out of the trees; they were coming out of the trees. Anyway, so I don't know what possessed me. I just got up and went and stood at the edge of the forest. No lights on. It was pitch black, and I was just looking into the trees. I was probably 5 feet from where the woods started.
Mm-hmm.
And Mark said, "Hey, walk down a little bit. There's a little bitty road down there, and it's more a path than a road." But I walked down there, and again, just standing there with my arms folded like this, looking into the woods. And I don't know why I did it. I just did. And while I was standing there, I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything move, but I did hear. Oh, oh. And I don't really get scared, but I got a little spring in my step.
He was like, "Nope."
Be honest, I turned right around when I grabbed a chair up. I said, "Let's go get in the van." And Mark
was like, "Are you okay?" And
I was like,
goes,
"No, I'm not okay." And Mark was like, "It's just getting good now." I said, "Well, you be good by yourself out here. I'm not staying out here," because I heard what sounded like a silverback gorilla grunt at me and say, "Hey, I don't want you here." So I heeded his words, and I didn't be there anymore.
Well, now, how do you know what his words meant?
I don't know what those were, but that's what it felt like.
Right.
It felt like, sir,
too close.
Go away.
Go away. Yeah.
And that's all I really needed. And there's a story that it reminds me of for myself. When I'll tell this real quick. When I was a little kid, my dad was a mechanic, and he had a truck of his that he was working on in our neighbor's backyard because they had more room. And the neighbors had a Doberman, and I was friends with the Doberman, but one day I got to chasing it around my dad's truck, and it was fine. The dog was running. I was giggling. I was like 8 or 9, and we made about 12 rounds around the truck, and the dog just stopped, looked back at me, and just bared its teeth. He didn't growl, he didn't bark, he didn't lunge. He just showed me his teeth to say, "This is enough." And it was a pretty good sized Doberman. So again, I was like, okay, I get what you're saying. And that's exactly what it reminded me of out there in Eastern Oklahoma. Was there was no aggression in the sound. It was just like, oh, oh. I was like, yep, I'm fixing to leave right now. I'm going that way. Bye. Because I'm a pretty good sized guy, but I don't know that I'd do well against something like that.
Well, you got to think of these creatures. They're able to push a tree over single-handedly.
Oh yeah.
They've, in some night investigations that I've been on, I've heard them push trees over. I had one pushed over knocking me off a bank
Oh wow.
into a big mud hole. That was a definite. You need to leave.
Yeah.
He didn't say it, but he told you.
Yeah, he told me in no uncertain terms, it's time to leave.
Absolutely.
So, I understand when you get the feeling that it's time to go,
Uh-huh.
it's time to go.
Yep.
You never take a chance with these creatures. They
No.
can turn on a dime. They might be standing there looking at you, and you do something, and it upsets them, and they'll start working themselves up into a frenzy, and
Uh-huh.
yeah, when they
That
start
doesn't sound
doing
like
that,
a
it's
good
best to
time.
walk away.
That doesn't sound like a good time to me.
It's not.
It doesn't. So I still, well, I haven't this time, but there was a solid 2 weeks after that if I told that story, I was still getting goosebumps on my arm.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
if you know me, you can ask Rachel vouch for me. I'm not a scary person.
No.
I don't get worked
he's
up.
not skittish.
I'm not. She's tried scaring me, and I'm like, hey, what's up? I'm not saying I'm hyper tough or any of that. I'm saying I just don't scare easy, and that put the fear of God in me. That whatever that was out of the complete darkness, because it was pretty close. Rachel and the guy out there, they didn't even hear it.
I didn't even. No, we didn't hear it at all.
I heard it, and that's all I needed to know.
But he was like, I am going to the van.
Well, it's the thing of it is, how far away were you from Rachel and the other guy?
I'll probably 30 yards.
Yeah.
Okay, that's probably a good reason because it was probably standing there about 5-10 feet from you, and you just couldn't see it because
Oh
it was
no.
dark.
Yeah.
And it just went,
Like,
it just said, "Hey," and that's enough to scare you.
for me, it
Um,
was.
if and the thing you're like me when it comes to if my wife's standing right there beside me, that would have been one of those times when I would have reached up and just shoved her behind me.
Absolutely.
And at that point, then I'd have probably got angry, and
Yeah.
because it would have scared her.
Yeah, absolutely. But with just me, I was like, there was nobody to. I was like, I can just leave now,
Yeah.
But if it would, whatever it was, if it would have acted that way towards Rachel, I don't like to think where it would have went, but it would have definitely had to go through me to get to her.
Right.
And I'm just telling you straight up.
When y'all been out, when you were out those few days out there and looking around, did y'all hear any strange whistles or anything of that nature while you were out riding around or sitting around the campfire at night?
We really didn't hear much. Like I said, maybe
we hear some whoops.
Maybe some whoops.
Mm-hmm.
But
we saw strange lights sometimes.
Yeah. Where there were no lights.
Yeah.
Places where there was nothing there. And that was something that the guy Mark told us about. He said that they were out one night, and you'd have to know Mark and Udell too. They're pretty straight laced guys.
Yeah.
And, Mark is kind of like me, kind of a loudmouth, but Udell is again, he's a real good Christian guy, and he's a realtor and all that, as straight laced as they come.
Mm-hmm.
But they were out one night and said it looked like a porch light out in the woods. And Mark said, I saw it, and he said, I took a step towards it. He said, and I could tell when it did, it moved back. He said, and I felt like I wanted to walk out there to it. He said, but I told myself, no, it's trying to lure you out in here.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but we never heard any whistles or anything. Now, I will say this: riding a 4-wheeler in that forest at night,
yeah,
is quite creepy.
Yeah, it is
quite creepy.
Mm-hmm. Well, how creepy is quite creepy?
It's enough to make me not really want to do it.
Oh.
And especially not to not be the back person.
Yeah.
That's the worst, because you know, during the day, even though it's really thickly forested, during the day you can, even though there are trees, you can see past the trees. It gets so you can't see past the fenders.
No.
Because it gets so it's like you feel that any second like something's just going to reach out of the darkness and be like, "Help! I own you now."
Yeah.
And anything that can grab me off a 4-wheeler and just pick me up and own me, I don't want to be involved with that.
Tell him the story that he told you about the 4-wheeler. Yeah. Here's another story though.
Yeah, the guy that owned the place before him, and the reason, and he sold it because of this reason. He was having issues with these creatures, and he was in the middle of the night. He was down trying to, you know, researching, and he I don't remember exactly what he said. I don't know, something shook a tree or whatever, and then he got scared. He dropped his flashlight, but he ran, knew the way back up to the shop, and just ran up there. It was like a quarter of a mile.
Yeah.
Went in there and locked the doors. Then the next day, he called a friend of his out there to go out there with him to get the 4-wheeler. No, yeah, because the 4-wheeler had died.
The 4-wheeler had died.
Yeah, the 4-wheeler had died.
He couldn't.
Went back out there, and the 4-wheeler was up about 15 feet in a tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
You know, I'm pretty sure that he upset somebody.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Probably the big male.
What's that?
Probably the big alpha male.
Probably so. Yeah, they had to take the tractor down there with the bucket on it to try to get it out of there, and run a hook or a shackle up there above it to pull. It was, so that's it.
Now that's a crazy story.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Now I don't know what he did to tick one off.
Exactly.
But you had to make one pretty mad to do that to it.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is, you can get too close to the alpha male, and you being a male can upset it to that point.
Wow. So, are they, in your opinion, in your experience, are they attracted to females?
Well, Rachel, what color is your hair? What's your base color of your hair? Blonde?
It's more of a blonde.
Dirty blonde.
Okay, change your hair color.
Oh.
Why is that?
Because they are more attracted to blondes than redheads than brunettes.
And,
really?
Than brunettes? They don't like brunettes?
No, they like brunettes. It's just
they like blondes and redheads.
Most of the bad interactions with females are they're blonde.
Really?
Yeah, there was a lady killed back in what's the name of that town? It's there in Texas. She was Brownsville, Texas.
Okay.
Her and her boyfriend or fiance were out messing around on the hood of the car. He became an accordion, and she was ripped open right through her sternum.
Oh, fun! Sounds like a great opportunity there.
Yeah.
So don't go blonde. I don't really want that. I don't want to be turned into.
Yeah.
Well, it's
change your hair color.
It is, yeah.
Well, whenever we got married and all that, she was a redhead.
Yeah.
So, and I like that. So we could do that again.
Redhead.
Yeah.
Well, redheads are second in line.
Well, they don't have to live with her then.
I've never went dark, so
that's but you think so that they're attracted to females?
Yeah.
What about kids?
Oh, they love kids.
Huh?
Even the males like kids.
Okay.
I've heard that.
The only male that don't like kids is the alpha male, because then he understands. See, these creatures they're on the same thinking ability as human beings.
Right.
And they are that smart. And when it comes to the alpha male, his word is the only word, and it's final, and nobody challenges that.
Right.
And when he says goes, when it comes to kids, they like to sit back and watch kids. And I'll give you, for instance, we had went to Indiana a few years ago, me and my wife,
Uh-huh.
and went out there with the Indiana Bigfoot Research Organization.
Okay.
And we went out there, and at the national forest we were staying, we had went to do some research with that group.
Uh-huh.
There was about 70 or 80 Boy Scouts.
Uh-huh.
And you know how kids are. They get out in the woods, they act like, they've lost their minds.
Right.
They're out there running around screaming and hollering and everything till about midnight. And you could hear every once in a while there was a ridge, a finger ridge between between us and the Boy Scout camp.
Uh-huh.
And you would hear a whoop every time the kids would scream real loud.
Gotcha.
And it wasn't the same one doing it every time.
Huh.
It was like there was 3 or 4, maybe 5 of them over there watching the kids play. Like, they had their popcorn, watching a movie, a funny movie.
Yeah.
And when it comes to kids, they love watching kids. But then you got Bigfoot out there that are not nice towards humans.
Right.
I mean, that's just,
well, it's
the same thing as the human population.
Yeah. Yeah. You have some that have different temperaments.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're individuals.
Yeah.
And the only thing you really got to worry about is the ones that don't like humans. They're 1 or 2% of the population.
Right.
Just like, there's criminals, in our population, it's 1 or 2% of the population that does all the crime.
Right.
You just got to be careful when you're around them. If they're out there screaming, and I try to caution people when they do. It's fine and dandy to go out and listen for them. Or do something that'll draw attention to get them to come in and see what's going on.
Uh-huh.
But when people go out there and they start screaming at them,
yeah.
They do start trying to imitate their howls and stuff.
Yeah.
If you don't know what the howl means, don't do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there's certain howls that you can do that's a challenge.
Oh.
And you don't want to challenge a big male.
No, you're right. I don't.
Yeah.
You're a mind reader. He's a mind reader. Ralph's a mind reader.
But tell me something, Rachel. How did you feel the first time you heard one of these screams, or heard what did it scare you? Did it kind of make you question things, or?
Oh yeah, I questioned a lot because I was like, "There's no way." I looked at him and he said, "He goes, it's your first turn." It scared me at first, but then I was like,
mm-hmm.
But it's really happening.
Well, I don't think it's going to hurt me. I didn't feel that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel that threatened. I didn't feel the threat. Now, I'm not saying I'm ever going to feel that or hear that threat, but if I ever heard that, I would tell him, I'd be like, we need to leave right now.
The only time we've ever left from that area, the one in Oklahoma, was we were sitting out there one night and
well, there are 3
yeah, well, first of all, where we're sitting, I was having some soup and sitting there in the driver's seat of the van, and I could have sworn I saw something run across behind the van back maybe 30 yards or so. And I was like, I didn't know if my mind, it was like right at dusk, and everything happens right at dusk out there. That's another point. It's always at dusk. Well, that's when things start. Let me put it like that, because we've heard things later at night. But I could have sworn I saw in the mirror something run across behind me, and I was like, okay. So again, maybe it's stupid, maybe it's testosterone. I don't know what it is, but I got out to go see if I could see anything. There was nothing out there, and where we were is almost like a little peninsula of land. Like it was like the land, it's all fairly level, and it jutted out, and then and dropped off on either side down, probably 50 or 60 feet, but they weren't, they were gradual drops, but there were woods everywhere. So I went out and looked and didn't see anything, and went and got back in the van. And that's when we heard howls back to the left.
Yeah.
And then shortly after, we heard them back over here.
Yeah, we heard
it felt like we were being closed in on.
Yeah.
And that was the only time I was like,
yeah, we left.
No, I left because I heard again.
Yeah, we left. I was like, I don't like this.
So it
didn't feel right.
Nope. But it really felt like. Go ahead.
You have to always follow your gut.
Oh,
you just don't take a chance.
Oh no, and we always do. Like I'm not going to push it past. Now I'm not going to leave at the drop of a hat. I'm not saying that, but I will. Like you said, it's just your gut tells you when. All right, you don't need to be here anymore. In fact, there was a situation that happened right on the Red River last week.
Oh,
and it wasn't anything supernatural or anything. It was just where we were camping. Somebody pulled up there, and then, long story short, they came back by and I think they had nefarious intentions. We didn't even make a video about it because I didn't.
No, we didn't.
But it was one of those things where I heard them coming back, and they had an older Jeep, and I was like, and I heard it. So I knew it was them coming back down the road. So I started the van up and passed, and they tried to stop me and all that, and then they followed us for a long time. And I don't want to just. I mean, I will protect us, but I'm not. My first thought isn't to pull out a firearm. It's just I will get away from a situation.
Yeah.
Last thing I want to do is get in a firefight, especially with my wife there. But I will do it. This is the last thing I want to. But yeah, it comes back to talking about following your gut, because I was like, no, it's time to leave here.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I understand where you're coming from when it comes to getting in a firefight. The only problem I got is my wife, she carries.
Right.
She carries a small hand cannon and a 357 Magnum.
That's awesome.
And she's very deadly with it. I mean, 6 shots, she burns the middle of the target out at 50 yards. She's only 5 foot tall. So
Rachel isn't much taller. Rachel's 5'2".
Maybe.
But the experiences that y'all are having, it sounds like they're kind of very inquisitive about what y'all are doing. And where you said they were high, you heard them make sounds from the left and then from the right. When you got to worry is when they're triangulating you.
Well, then that's
what they're coming from 3 sides.
That's what it almost felt like, but it was only 2. It was only 2. But
they left you an out.
What's that?
They left you an out.
Yeah, and I took it.
I understand. I'm not faulting you for it. I'm just saying.
I know.
You got to worry about whenever they're coming from 3 different sides. They're trying to triangulate you, and they're moving in like a military unit would to close the gap.
And that's one good thing about the van. We can leave quick, but I don't know what they're capable of. They may be able to stop the van.
Yeah.
I don't know. Now,
they would be able to stop it, I would say.
What's that?
They would be able to stop it.
Well, I don't like that.
Well, I understand, but you got to remember, it's just like, okay, about a black bear, right?
Oh, yeah.
A full-grown black bear that weighs 200 pounds. It has a man's strength times 7.
Yeah.
And that's been proven through science.
Mm-hmm.
All right. These creatures, one of them can push over a full-grown oak tree out of the ground that's not loose.
Right.
And that's what was shoved on top of me. Okay. So that tells me they got a lot more strength than any black bear that I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah. Well, the van probably weighs about 6,000 pounds now with all the stuff in it. I don't think it'd be that big a deal to stop it for them then.
No.
Probably not.
Yeah, I'm all right then. I'm good.
But, if you go back out to that area, build you a nice size fire.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, they're attracted towards fire. They want to come and watch the fire burn. just
Right.
like we do, you know. And leave the s'mores out of it. No s'mores.
Okay. Yeah, we don't
No,
do
we don't do
s'mores
that.
anyway, so it's not a
Yeah.
big
Yeah,
deal.
that sweet smell stuff. The young ones want to come in, and they get
Right.
inquisitive, and they want to come in closer and closer because they smell that sweet food. And they'll come in after you go to bed. If
Uh-huh.
there's sweet stuff like that laying around, or the smell of it, they'll come and look around in your camp, and they don't mind.
Oh,
They don't mind. Huh?
They don't mind. You know, we've camped in Bigfoot territory up in Ohio, and we've had them walk around our camper.
Wow.
So,
that's creepy.
you know, yeah. Well, it's really creepy when you're standing there in the restroom and you just got done and you're getting ready to go back to bed, and the next thing you know, you hear,
No.
that's creepy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, it's about like the thing that I heard, but that's even worse than what I heard.
Yeah. I
That,
went out the door.
Yeah.
I grabbed my rifle and went out the door, and it took
right.
off. So
You know,
that it was lucky for both of us.
it's funny how many people on these couple of videos where things have happened, they've chastised me for getting out of the van. I'm like, so am I supposed to sit in there and cower? Am I supposed to? I don't understand the concept of just cowering it inside the van. I mean, if I feel threatened, I'm gonna face the threat.
Right. And in my personal opinion, if you'd have stayed in the van, they would have probably pursued the chance because they would have perceived that as being that you were afraid.
Right. And
You coming out of the van tells them, but hey, look, he's coming out to mean business. So
right,
it's time for us to quit playing.
right, and that's how
And
I look at it.
and the funny thing is, most of the time when they do stuff like that,
Uh-huh.
it's the young juveniles.
Right.
And
So the times the two times that I've could swear to you I've heard like a 6-year-old kid talking out there.
mhm,
You think they're juveniles?
yeah,
Okay.
it's probably the ones that are comparable to 12-year-olds, 10, 12-year-old kids.
Right.
The wee little ones, they're on mommy's hip or mommy's
Right.
back. They're not on the ground
Right.
unless mommy sits them down and forces them to stay in one spot.
Right.
And so it's the thing of, when they do that, they're talking about you.
Uh-huh.
They're talking to each other about you
Right.
and what you're doing. They're inquisitive. I mean, they want to know what human beings are doing out in the woods, and that's
Right.
the way they look at it.
Yeah, because to them it's like we're invading their space.
Well, no, it's that they know that we come out there
Uh-huh.
because they've seen hunters, they've seen
Right.
people come out to go fishing, they've seen people come out and go camping. They know
Right.
that we come to the woods, but what it is, their television.
No, that makes sense.
Like you said, you were sitting in the front of the van listening to a Cowboys game.
Right.
They were probably sitting out there listening to the Cowboys game while you were doing the same
Well,
thing.
the last time it happened, it was I don't know. This is maybe midnight, and it was pitch black. Rachel was asleep in the back.
Mm-hmm.
I was editing a video, and where I edit is I always sit in the front seat, and I do everything on my phone. And I was editing, and usually I had my headphones in, but this time I just didn't. And,
Yeah.
And it's pitch black right outside the window. I had the window down, and I'm sitting there editing, and I hear right out here. It sounds like it sounded like a 6-year-old girl talking, kind of giggling.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it sounded like. And I was like, well, I turned the lights on and jumped out of the van. I was like, what is going on out here? Again, spring fully in my step.
Yeah.
Right.
And very clenched up. Just
Yeah. I've been there a few times.
right. You know, go ahead.
But, you're doing the right thing by, letting them know that you're an alpha. You're not going to back down.
Right.
And, if you get out and they throw something at you, the easiest thing for you to do is go, hey, quit that. You do it again, I'm coming to get you. And, they understand the inflection in your voice.
Right.
And, there's been a few people that, and I personally think that they can understand English language.
Really?
It's just because there's been scientists that have taken, the Sierra sounds, where they do that,
Oh yeah.
the samurai talk and everything.
Oh yeah.
And they've slowed it down, and you can pick up words from almost every language in the world.
Yep.
And people think it's funny, well, if they can understand us, then why can't we just talk to them? Because they don't want nothing to do with you. They don't want you to be out there where they're at.
Right.
But they understand your people are going to be there, and they sit back and watch us and watch what we're doing. If we're not out there to harm them, they're not going to come and harm you.
Right.
Unless they're starving to death, they're not going to bother you.
Right.
And people just don't understand that a lot.
And that area, and the two areas, the one in Oklahoma and then the one, in far eastern Oklahoma, there's plenty to eat out there. There are plenty of critters.
Oh yeah.
There are plenty of whatever. In fact, the one here in Oklahoma, or the one in central Oklahoma, not very far from where we are right now, as the crow flies. It's a wildlife.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wildlife management area. There are deer everywhere out there, and there are armadillo and all kinds of stuff. I don't know what all these things eat. We'll probably eat just about anything.
Everything you just mentioned.
Right. Skunks.
Mm-hmm.
What was I going to say? I was going to say something about them smelling like skunks. I've never smelled anything either.
Yeah.
Never. I've always heard that they stink. In the times that we've heard howls or whatever, and then the one other time, and
I've never smelled anything. No.
The one time I was talking about it in New Mexico with my ex-wife and the kids, like I was within probably 10 feet of one, but I still never smelled anything.
Well, the funny thing is out of the Bigfoot that I've been close to, the first one I ever saw was at 20 feet.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
that was
close.
A little bit of that was a scary situation. I was only 16 years old, so. But out of all the Bigfoot I've ever seen, I've only smelled 3 when I was up close to them.
Right.
And not when I first saw them. It was after a few seconds, 15, 20, 30 seconds, then a smell came from them.
Really?
I believe they can emit that odor that everybody says they smelled. It's a warning sign for us to get away, because when you smell a skunk, what do?
You go away.
You go away. So they do the same. And theirs is that garbage for a week and roadkill for 3 months that's been in the sun at 110 degrees. And yeah, it's pretty nasty. And it'll send most people running.
Right. Yeah, that's the only thing that's been weird is that I haven't smelled anything, but I think you may be right about that. About that's something that they can just do.
Right.
Like they have scent glands or whatever.
Well, it's the same as a grown man, if he doesn't put deodorant on and he lifts his arms. My wife looks at me real funny if I don't put deodorant on.
Rachel never looks at me funny that way. Is what I would say if Rachel never looked at me funny that way.
I know what you're saying. But, there's things that you do whenever you're out there. You don't really have to worry about them. Now, if they start screaming from 500-600 yards away, and then the next scream is 200 or 300 yards away,
And the next one's
I'd
100.
probably start putting stuff in the van.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, in
That's
case they come and visit.
right. That's the thing is that we never, obviously, we're a van life channel.
Mm-hmm.
At the core of what we are, we're van life. We chose to live a nomadic life.
Right.
But being out has afforded us the opportunity to hear these things, and
Mm-hmm.
so that's whenever it's the ability to leave.
Yeah.
That's one of the good things about it is, uh, Mark, the guy I was talking about, well, he has a place down near Palestine, Texas. That's his actual house,
Yeah.
and he said they have them on his property, and he said his wife is, because you're telling us about your wife hearing one like from behind the house. He said his wife was out. She went down and checked the mail, and was walking back up the driveway, and the woods start right there beside the driveway, and a horn, like a bull horn, like an actual bull, got thrown at her feet while she was walking.
Mm-hmm.
So she picked it up and she took it in the house and sent a picture up to her husband and said, look at what was just thrown to me out of the woods. And the next day she went out there and there was a whole skull of a cow laying in that same place so I don't know if they're offering gifts to her or what.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And
that was his wife that they were doing that to.
Yeah. Yep.
That's usually not a good thing.
No, I don't know. I just know he was like, but his wife said that she didn't feel threatened or anything. She said it felt like they're offering gifts, but I don't know if they want to take her and make make her be part of the clan or whatever. I don't know.
Well, that usually doesn't end up very good.
Really?
If when you talk to the Native American, and you talk to them and you ask them about the culture and everything, because some Native Americans dealt with Bigfoot. They traded with them. They did things. They traded blankets and they get pelts and all this stuff. And some of them they were very wary about, because they would steal their women and take them off, and then a year or two later they would come back and they would have supposed to have a little one with them, and they weren't pregnant when they left the tribe.
Like they were
Now that's
with them.
some of the stuff that I've heard through the Cherokee. I've heard that, and I've got friends around the U.S. because I was an over the road trucker for a long time.
Right.
And I've talked to some people out west, and they had spoken of they have friends that are Native Americans, and they've told them the same thing.
Right.
So I don't know if the ones today would be that bolden, but don't ever take the chance. I mean, something like that, if they're gifting the wife, if they were gifting my wife, there would probably be claymores around my house.
Claymore mines. I mean, I get it. I have one more deal I'd like to tell. One more story I'd like to tell.
Go right ahead.
And this happened. So, I know everybody knows that this summer was just totally hot. It was a crazy hot summer. So we went up to Colorado, went up to the Rockies. We were gone a month and a half up there just to get out of the heat here. We actually came back a little too early, but that's a whole nother story. But we were up in way northern Colorado. My cousin lives up in Walden, which is like 22 miles from the Wyoming line.
Mm-hmm.
Walden itself only has about probably 800 people, But there's like a little dollar store and a little grocery store and a couple of
Mm-hmm.
restaurants and whatnot, a few gas stations, couple of little gas stations. So it's kind of a good jumping off place.
Yeah.
So our dog, in fact, the story I'm telling kind of revolves around Badger, our dog, and he's sitting out here just whining because he can hear Mama. And he's freaking out because he can't. We don't want to let him in the room while we're doing this. So we went up to this campsite, and it was one that we had wanted, but then we got up to it and somebody was there. So then we stayed at another place, and then a couple of days later we came back to that same place. There was nobody there. And when I say we were up high, we were probably 9,500, maybe 10,000 feet.
Yeah, we were.
And it was it was. I mean, it was almost. We were way up there. I'll say that, and very remote. It was one of the prettiest campsites we've ever stayed in.
Yeah,
I loved it there. Loved it there. Well, where we were to the right of the van, the land kind of sloped away a little bit. And there's big Douglas firs and lodgepole pines and all that, and then it sloped off really sharply down to the river. River was probably 150 yards, so a football field and a half down there to it. But it was so far down there with all the trees, you just couldn't see it.
Yeah,
you could kind of hear it. Well, one morning we were there, and I was just doing some filming about our campsite and all that, and I heard a tree fall out in there in that area. Okay, well now I'm like, did the tree fall or was it pushed? I don't know.
I mean, it fell hard.
It fell hard, and like, that sound, especially whenever you said you've had a tree pushed over almost on you. That's a loud sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So I don't know. I mean, I know you've watched some of our videos. You've seen Badger. He's not a big dog.
But no, he's a little puppy.
He's pretty small, but he's generally pretty fearless when it comes to stuff in the woods. Like he that same day, no, it was back at the other campsite. There was a deer run through and he was like gone. I mean, you can holler at him and all that. So someday he's going to get after the wrong thing and get after a badger or something, a real badger, and it's going to be not going to be good. So, but he always, if he hears something or sees something, he always goes and investigates.
Usually.
I've never seen him not investigate. Well, this time we heard that tree fall. So I took my camera down there and I was just kind of filming. And even on the video, you can see Badger. He's running around at the top of this little ridge. I mean, and I say ridge, I mean, it was for him to get down there was not a big deal.
He could have done it.
And he's really athletic. And I mean, it was just where the land stopped sloping and started going more. I mean, it wasn't even a ridge. He was barking his butt off and he was all hackled up and he was posturing a lot, but he would not go down there. And I've never seen that out of him. He would not go see what it was. He barked from up here and he was jumping around, but he would never go past a certain point.
Yep.
And I even told him a few times, go get him, Badger. And he was just like, nope, I'll stay here and bark, but I'm not going any further than this. And go ahead.
He could probably smell if it was a tree that just got pushed over. He probably could smell their scent.
Right.
And most dogs, well, not most, probably 99% of the dogs, when they smell them, they don't, they stop.
Right.
And they'll go so far and then they'll stop.
Right.
And then there's just that 1% that's, it might be, something like a big bull mastiff or something of that size that'll dive in on top of them.
Yeah.
But usually it's not good for a dog to go in against a Bigfoot.
No. And Badger would just be a nice little hors d'oeuvre.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I mean, let's be real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at that same campsite, and we were, so this happened with this happened with the tree falling, and it was a good hour and a half that he stood up there and barked and ran around, but never went past a certain area. And it finally slowed down, and we went back to normal. It was the next day we were leaving that campsite, And we'd been packing stuff up, and Rachel she got tired of doing all that stuff for a second, so she took off down the road.
I just took a walk.
And she walked a little ways. I'm like, I'm gonna go see where she's going. So I walked down there, and again, way up in the Rockies. And this is the part where the trees, like the land was still sloping away down to the river, but there were no trees right there by us.
Yeah, but I was telling him when he was walking up, and I said, something's down there. Something's down there, and I don't know what it is. I said, I can't see anything, but I can hear it. And I said, it's not deer.
It's not like something walking and just breaking little sticks.
Yeah.
Like you could hear loud.
And I told him, I said, I don't know what it is. And I didn't video anything, but I heard a tree knock.
And then
and then he knocked.
I picked up a stick.
And he knocked a couple of times. And he got one back.
We got like 2 or 3 back.
Yeah.
But like I said, we were packing up, getting ready to go, and we didn't even take our cameras with us.
No.
Didn't take our phones because we just went to stop doing what we were doing for a second, and then that happened. And that was at that same area where the tree fell.
Yeah.
I mean, roughly the same area,
Right. Well, in that situation, you didn't know what it was. You had an idea, probably.
I had an idea.
But the thing of it is, that's a prime opportunity that people start disappearing in.
Oh, yeah.
And if you felt something that was down there, Rachel, if you felt it was there, then it was probably standing there watching you. And it would, every time, if you would move, out of its view, it probably would step over the view to keep watching you. And they tend to like women to be able to watch because women can, for some unknown reason, most women can feel a lot more. They do everything with feelings.
More intuitive.
And they can, and the pheromones that our bodies put off because of our feelings, women have a deeper and richer smell than what men do. Men are more testosterone based, and we think with, me.
Yeah, we're men.
But yeah, so, when it comes to a male Bigfoot, they'll smell you from, it might be a half a mile. They might be able to smell you from a mile away. And, the only thing I can tell you is you don't ever want to wear a musky scent. If you put perfume on, don't wear musk. That's a major no-no when you're out in the woods. That affects all the predators that are out there.
Right, even me.
Yeah.
It turns me
well, I'm pretty sure she don't have a whole lot to worry about from you.
No, mostly. Let's say mostly.
But, these creatures, like I said, they like to watch kids, and then they like to watch women.
Right.
And you with, your sandy blonde hair, you got to be a little bit more careful.
Gotcha.
So if you go walking, somebody sitting beside you needs to be right there.
Right.
I'm just. Well, there was one time where I walked out in the woods just like nonchalantly, and I shouldn't have done that.
Oh yeah, out there in eastern Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I probably shouldn't have done that at all. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because
my wife has done that
all the
to
way.
me.
It was at night. She didn't even turn her headlamp on.
No.
She just took off. I'm like, what are you doing, ma'am? Hey, Rachel. Hey, are you okay?
Yeah. It was bad.
It was bad.
Yeah.
And it could have been bad, but it wasn't. It turned out, obviously, she's okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we've been out places, and my wife she'll walk over, she'll hear something, or she'll see something she wants to look at in the daytime, or she'll hear something at night and get up and go to walk away from me. And then I'll walk up behind her carrying a rifle and have a handgun on my hip. Where do you think you're going?
Right.
You're not supposed to be out of my eyesight. You know this.
Yeah.
It's just, sometimes they got to do what they got to do, and they just got to walk away. And you got to be careful of that when you're out in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
There's things out there that do bite.
Oh. Yeah.
Coyotes can, a pack of coyotes up close, they can attack you and take you to the ground.
Yeah, they can.
You
Yeah,
got to be
definitely can.
careful.
Yeah. And then,
And there's always snakes.
Especially like up there in northern Colorado, there's even moose up there and stuff. Moose are dangerous. And
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
there's, stuff that's not even going to really, they're not predators. They're just big and can hurt you.
Right.
Yeah.
You just gotta make sure that if you do anything, it's within the light so that he can see you.
Right.
And
she didn't that night. She was.
No.
I was like, hey, can we not do that again?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. That probably sent off about 10,000 warning signs to him, right in an instant.
Yeah. Oh, it did. It was weird because I don't think I was filming at the time, but
No.
I was carrying a bunch of stuff and I couldn't just, and I was expecting her at any point to just turn around and come back.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, hey, Rachel, where are you going?
It was bad.
Yeah.
I know. I came back though.
Yeah.
I found my way back. I was like, why did I do
Because
that?
the thing is, there was a group of us there.
It was weird though.
It was
well.
it was Mark and Udell, and then there was two ladies that Udell had met at one of the conferences, and they were just interested in Bigfoot. And so we were all out there walking at night, and listening, and they were showing us different stuff. And then Rachel was, I'm going to walk over. She goes, there's something over here. She had on, she was using like one of the directional mics.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She was using one of those, and she just, there's something over here. I'm like,
yeah.
Well, you can hear it from here. You don't have to go over there to hear it.
That's something that you'll figure out if you keep going out and doing investigations. Going out in areas where they are and trying to hear them, and you'll figure out pretty quick there is a lot more safety in numbers than there is by yourself.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I used to go by myself a lot. Oof. And because I've taken guys out with me, full grown men, ex-military, police officers, guys that's played college football and everything else, and have to stick them in the back of the truck on the way home.
Wow.
They not only make their jeans real dark,
right,
but the backside of the jeans ain't very pretty and they're not very fragrant that you want to smell.
Oh. Nice.
And that's just being screamed at from 50 or 60 yards away.
Yeah. Oh, tell you what, those sounds coming out of the dark, they will haunt you.
Mm-hmm.
They will haunt you.
So, guys, I'm super happy y'all came and told everything that you saw. And,
no, thank you so much for having us.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a question for both of you.
Okay.
What are you doing in late June?
Late June? I have no clue.
Around the 25th.
I mean, as far as I know, like that's kind of one of the beauties of our lifestyle. We really never have anywhere we have to be. We're going to be here at my mom's at Thanksgiving and all that. But
right.
Other than that,
if it's June, it may be in the mountains.
Yeah, because it'll be hot.
To get hot.
But
okay.
No, June is still early.
Yeah. What do you got?
Well, I'm thinking about maybe because of the job I have now, I'm a teacher now.
Okay. Cool.
We get out of school on the 22nd of June.
22nd of June?
I don't have to be back till like the 12th of July.
Right.
And my wife's got vacation time. We might have to head west.
Well, I'll tell you what. That'd be great. and we'd love to meet up with you. And in fact, we could even take you. I know for a fact that we could take you to both places. We could take you to the one here in central Oklahoma, and we could also go to the one out there, the one right there by the Watchdog Forest.
Well, I got a 22-foot camper and I got a 3/4 ton truck, 4-wheel drive, and I can get it in anywhere.
Well, you'd need it in there, but I mean, I'll tell you what. Obviously, we'll speak again privately after this.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I'm all for meeting people. We're all for meeting people with like interests and all that.
Yeah.
And somebody that seems decent, and doesn't have ulterior motives and all that. That's one of the other things that we've had to deal with on the channel is
right.
My wife's attractive, and people, some guys can't really deal with that. We'll just say that.
Sorry.
Well, I know what you're saying because I've had the same issue.
Yeah.
Guys start saying things about my wife, and I kind of have to tell them, hey, I can take you out from 1,000 yards.
Yeah, that's the thing is like they say whatever they want to say about me. When they start talking about my wife, luckily, we could just hide them from the channel. But
right.
That's
You hide them from the channel, but the problem is you got to be careful because people like that, they always find a way around it.
Right. Well, I'm pretty good at the vast majority of our comments are kind and it won't. But we have those, ones, people will talk about, my weight. Like I don't have a mirror. I've never bought clothes for myself. I can't tell that I need to lose a few pounds. I'm like, thank y'all for letting me know because I had no idea. Or they, say, let's be real, sexual stuff about my wife. I don't care if they say about me. But you start talking about, please say those things about my wife to my face. Please do that. But they won't because they're,
they're keyboard warriors. You got, just.
But
only
anyway,
thing
back
you
to
do.
what we were saying, that I would love to meet y'all, and I'd love to take you around to some of the places that we know about.
Well, that'd be a perfect vacation for me and my wife to take.
Absolutely, it sounds good.
We have talked about it a couple of times, and every time I've mentioned it, she kind of looks at me and goes, "As long as I get to go away and not have to put up with the telephones at work, she doesn't care."
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, I mean, put them away and come on.
Hey, I just soon turn my cell phone off for 2 weeks.
Right. It's hard for me to do since it's how I make my money, or how we make our money. But
yeah, I understand that.
I know what you're saying, though. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, we would love to come and meet you guys this. Take some time off and come out and meet you guys this summer.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, like I said, we'll obviously speak again once we get off here. At some point, or
we'll keep in touch. There ain't don't worry. I'll bug you at least once a month, or twice a month, or 5 times a month, or whatever.
Sounds good. I don't think you'd ever bug me either. To be honest with you. But
I want to thank both of you for coming on. You've been a fountain of information for the viewers, and y'all are starting into a journey that if you ever have one walk out on you, you'll never be able to walk away from it.
Oh no, you're probably right.
So just take it slow and take it easy.
Right.
If it don't feel right, run. Get out of there.
Right.
Don't take a chance.
Right.
That's the best advice I can give both of you.
Absolutely.
And if he doesn't listen, smack him upside the head with a 2x4 or a piece of firewood. He'll listen really quick then.
Don't do that.
Listen, one thing is I am not afraid. We even kind of have I know you're trying to get off here, but we kind of have an unwritten. I mean, if either of us doesn't feel safe somewhere, we leave.
Yeah.
Right.
And if she says I don't feel safe here, I don't question it. We'll go. Or if I don't feel safe, I'll just start it and go, and she'll be up where we're going. I say I don't feel like we need to be here anymore. And that's one of the things that we have. we're pretty open about that. And if we don't feel safe, we're just gonna.
I'm more of the one that would probably say it though.
Yeah.
Because I don't know.
Because you're
at times I have felt
like the other night.
Yeah,
Like
the other night was weird.
Yeah. You're more in tune with your feelings than what he or I would be. My wife's the same way.
I'm quite very much not in tune with mine. I'm like, ooh, stick, fire, meat, you know.
Yeah, I know how that goes. That's about how I am too.
Right.
But thank you again for coming. Absolutely. And it has been a pleasure since we started this.
Absolutely. Yes. Oh yeah. It's
and
been fun.
You guys, if you run into anything or you need an answer, feel free to call me anytime, day or night.
Oh yeah,
we will.
Or if you run into a situation that you don't know how to get out of it, let me know.
All right.
I'm just a phone call away.
I might hold you to that sometime.
Hey, I don't care. All right, that works for us.
All right.
But y'all have a blessed evening, and we'll see you here, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay.
All right. Y'all have a good night.
Have a blessed
All right.
All right.
We'll see y'all later.
Bye-bye.
Well, everybody, that was a wonderful time to spend with Oreo Speedwagon, and they had a lot of interesting accounts. You know, they've heard things, they've seen something cross the road when he was younger, and stuff that went on. I hope you give it a thumbs up, and for them, it's not for me because I don't deserve any acclaim or anything of that nature for anything. I'm just here to bring you all the accounts. I hope you all have a blessed night, and we will talk to y'all later. Thank you all. Bye-bye now.